I want to start with Georgia, Blaine, and this is something that you've been saying. And, we've had Georgia ranked number one in our rankings the whole time. That there's been no swivel there from us. Is there a team that's better than Georgia right now?
No, there is not, and I don't think it's really that close. If you look at this Georgia team, one thing about them, what do they do every year? And this is a Kirby Smart coach team. They get better each week, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, if you're an opponent, which is deathly terrifying. You look at Carson Beck. I mean, he's getting more and more comfortable in the pocket. I mean, Ladd McConkey, I don't know if caught a pass yesterday, and they cleanly swept Tennessee. They're the best third down team in the nation. The run game's starting to come along. And kind of, we talked about this a little bit on the Saturday special. Georgia kind of went in reverse when it came to getting healthy. They were banged up at the beginning of the year. All right. And now you're seeing to get all the pieces to make the full transformer Optimus Prime style. So Kirby Smart has these guys playing. One thing you watch in this game, one thing Georgia is so good on, right, is tackling in space. All right. Yes. Your defense travels, and you can tackle in space against great athletes, which you're going to play once you get an SEC championship and the playoffs. That's what carries them over the top. Tackling space, attitude, mentality, and physicality. That is what this Georgia football team is about.
Yeah. Yeah, and David, yesterday, I mean, I tweeted out, about halfway through the first quarter. I mean, Carson Beck's has better protection than the president, man. I mean, when you look at the amount of time he has, and I want to make sure and give him credit. I mean, he's 24 of 30, all right, for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Obviously Dylan Bell, they ran that halfback pass off the toss that scored as well. But watching them operate, and make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate you guys joining us. The thing that I think when I watch Georgia is their team balance is incredible, but their balance offensively, you never know what they're going to do because they can do everything. They can pitch backwards. They can run the clock. They can do play action. They can go empty. They can hurt you there. Carson Beck runs just as well enough to put pressure on you. And Blaine hit it right on the head. How do you stop the style that Tennessee runs? How do you really stop any style, but especially the style that Tennessee has? You tackle in space. And outside of the first play, where, Georgia does this thing where, she is the hot girl at the school and she gives you the time of day every now and then. So you think you got a chance, and then you walk up to her and she ignores you. That's what Georgia does. They make you think you have a chance. Oh, here, Tennessee, first play, 70-yard touchdown. Hey, maybe y'all can do this. Maybe Joe Milton's going to figure it out too.
Florida, same way.
You score 3 points the rest of the game and get dropped like a bad habit at an AA meeting. I tell you what, man, David, I know Michigan, is the team that I picked to win it. I believe you picked to win it. But Georgia and Alabama, man, this is going to be a hell of a matchup before we even get to the playoff.
Yeah, and you talk about Carson Beck having great protection all the time in the world to throw, and he has great weapons, and those things are fantastic for any quarterback, especially a young quarterback. But at some point, we just have to acknowledge Carson Beck can just flat out play football. He threw a stick route to Brock Bowers yesterday that I just wanted to pull for a teach tape and just teach for the end of time. It was so incredible. Now, all those other things help make that possible, right? I understand that. But for most of the season, we've been talking about, just from our eye test and the experience we have with football, looks like this Georgia team and this Michigan team, these two teams look like the best in the country, but do we really know? Because their schedule is a little bit lighter. We're going to find out down the stretch. But now, to me, it's just like one top tier. It looks like Georgia's at the top tier, and then we sort of have everyone else. And that doesn't mean they're going to win every football game. They're already locked in for an SEC championship, which I can't wait to see, because Alabama's gotten better and better each week as well. But yeah, it looks like Georgia's just right there in a tier to themselves right now. And the scariest part for everyone else is what happened yesterday. That was their only ranked road game that they're going to play, right? From now on, you're going to see mostly neutral site games when it comes to the SEC championship and when it comes to the bowl game. So I thought yesterday, with what we saw when they went on the road against Jordan-Hare, and that game was close at Auburn, maybe again, this is Carson Beck's first time going on the road versus a ranked team. Maybe they could sort of rattle him and give him problems, and it just wasn't the case. They continue to roll.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Carson Beck really is like 30 years old. He isn't one of these true It's not Dante Moore at UCLA that you put in there and said, all right, good luck, we'll throw you to the fire. He didn't have a ton of on the field experience, but he had a ton of experience of preparing and understanding what it's like and traveling to these venues and seeing it. But if you're Tennessee right now, right, you got one game left in the year. To me, Joe Milton, once again, I know it's not all on him. Yesterday wasn't all on him, but you got another taste of who Joe Milton is. I mean, one point, I think in the third quarter, they had 24 passing yards, something like that. And there weren't guys that were running wide open. There's a couple guys downfield. He missed a guy on a vertical. Squirrel White, I think, was wide open on a vertical one play, and he didn't hit him. Is the Joe Milton experiment over? Is it time to go to Nico? I want to know what you think in the chat. Blaine, quickly, you look at the numbers. Tennessee did, Jalen Wright ran for 90 yards on 9 carries. That's pretty daggum good. Outside of that first one, though, didn't really do a ton. Joe Milton ends up going 17-30 for 147 yards, no touchdowns, and no interceptions. Just another mid-performance from a quarterback that we talked about all offseason. Isn't the Avenger that some people are making him out to be? Is the experiment over?
Yeah, I'm not for pointing fingers, but Joe Milton, you're the problem, right? I mean, that's what it is. I don't think your skill position players are great this year, especially what you lost last year and Jalen Hyatt and these other pieces. The scheme's not the problem. You had plenty of guys running open. You can run the football somewhat, but Joe Milton's feet's not there. And the one thing a lot of people don't realize what you lost with Hendon Hooker, it's not only a great thrower, but a great guy who can maneuver in the pocket, has great feel in the pocket. When you play teams like Georgia, when you play teams like Alabama, guys are going to get to you. They're just that good. They're that talented. But your skill and your movement in the pocket dictates how you can push the ball down the field. Joe Milton can throw a great deep ball. We all know this. He does somewhat overthrow kids sometimes, but that happens. But the intermediate to mediate game will forever be Joe Milton's problem. I didn't think Joe Milton was going to start throughout halfway of the year. Heupel made that decision. That's why their record's sitting what they are. I think Tennessee's a better football team than their record shows, but I feel like you can only go so far with Joe Milton. The Joe Milton experience started in Michigan. All right. You saw what happened here. All right. Started over Hendon last year. Hendon took that job. We know who Joe is. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. He's an okay player. He's a strawberry beer. It's She-Wolf. It's Smith. We all know that. This is not surprising. I have nothing against the guy. All right. But I'm sitting here and shoot you the facts, which is true. Tennessee had plenty of opportunities to score in that game yesterday. But in the day, if you're going to play a Georgia football team, you have to play perfect if you want to win. That's just the way it is.
Definitely. Well, what do we got? Go ahead, Dad.
One stat I thought was interesting. They had the 75-yard touchdown run on the first play. 2 minutes before halftime, they had 57 total yards. So you went the wrong direction for over a quarter and a half.
It's just Georgia they flip that switch. It's like, again, they give you a little bit of hope and then they take it away.